A warrior, artist, swordsman, Buddhist, and a writer. Miyamoto Musashi holds a near-mythical status as one of the most influential swordsmen and philosophers, not only in Japan but all over the world. He captured his wisdom eloquently in his writings, such as the famous Book of Five Rings and Dokkodo, in which he summarized the principles he lived his life by. Although it was his father who introduced him to the way of the samurai, it was Musashi himself who truly embodied the idea and reinvented it in his own image. He showed his remarkable sword skills by slaying another warrior in a duel at the mere age of 13. He would participate in battles, wars, and lived the ferocious and brutal lifestyle of a 16th century samurai. He fought over 60 duels during his lifetime and was not defeated even once. He invented a fencing style known as the Nito Ichiryu, which utilizes the use of two swords. His remarkably devastating style of fighting and wisdom earned him the title of Kensai, or Sword Saint. As wise as he was, being this formidable warrior meant that he had to be incredibly disciplined. As reflected in Dokkodo, he was the living embodiment of discipline and self-control. In the final days of his life, Musashi retired to a cave called Reigando, or the Spirit Rock Cave, and there he wrote the Dokkodo, which roughly translates to the path of aloneness, or the way of walking alone. It's a set of 21 precepts that advises the reader to let go of worldly urges, to be strictly disciplined, and to live life by virtues of honesty and simplicity. This is the first part of the three-part series and will focus on the first 7 rules of Dokkodo. The part 2 and 3 of the series will be released in the following weeks. Rule number 1. Accept everything just the way it is. For a warrior, it does not matter how the world is oriented around him. All he knows is that the world is just the way it is. Simply put, if you're able to accept the reality of things, you will be able to adapt to the world rather than vainly wishing that the world would conform to your wishes. Be a realist. It is the easiest path to success. However, if you can change the circumstances to better suit your needs, then go ahead, put effort into that task. But for events that are not under your control, there is no point in fretting about them. So according to this precept, stop worrying about how things are and just accept them as the way of the world. This will bring you peace and will allow you to move on with your life. Rule number 2. Do not seek pleasure for its own sake. Musashi warns us that pleasure is a trap and you will never get enough pleasure. Like a drug, pleasure is addicting. It has no limit. In simpler terms, imagine a person starts using drugs. Initially, he begins by using it in small amounts. He receives immense pleasure from this activity and he doesn't see the harm in it as it's only occasional and in small quantities. But soon, the tiny amount is not enough. He needs higher amount of the drug to experience the same feeling. And in the end, the drug proves too much for him. And now he is hooked and cannot function without it. So what Musashi wanted was for people to aim for satisfaction rather than pleasure. For example, you can eat till you're satisfied or overeat for pleasure. You can watch TV for an hour or 2 in a day to take your mind off things, or binge watch for hours for pleasure. You see, they're entirely different things. Satisfaction comes with completion of a goal. It is earned, while pleasure is purchased. Great accomplishments provide great joy. So aim for something big in your life and work hard till you achieve that goal. And do not seek pleasure for its own sake. Rule number 3. Do not, under any circumstances, depend on a partial feeling. Feelings change like the 4 seasons, so you must learn to control them as much as you can. Emotions are important, and true they do help us, but your brain is a much better tool to use and hone. Logic should dictate your actions, not your whim. You must learn to align your feelings with your thoughts so you can always take rational decisions fueled by focus and clarity. It is important to analyze the pros and cons of your actions and their results. For Musashi living life as a samurai, there was no gray area while making a decision. It could only be the absolutes of black and white, or it could be a fatal move costing him his life. Even during duel, Musashi never let partial feelings like anger drive his decisions, as he understood the Buddhist quote very well. You will not be punished for your anger. You will be punished by your anger. Rule number 4. Think lightly of yourself and deeply of the world. Today people are so obsessed with themselves that they cannot even see the bigger picture, much less understand it. Musashi was not arrogant, nor was he boastful. He let his actions and achievements speak for themselves. He was lethal yet humble. We are without questions invaluable as human beings, but the world does not revolve around us, and it never will. So accepting that we are just a tiny speck in the grand scheme of things will only help us. The universe is incredibly vast, intrinsic, and beyond our imagination. So not being humble doesn't make any sense. Taking a path of aloneness, as Musashi did, can be a good reminder of how vulnerable or small we actually are in the vast world. Ego has led to the downfall of many great men. Do not become a lesson for someone, rather be an example. Rule number 5. Be detached from desire your whole life long. Desire is the toxic form of ambition. Having desire for something means we allow our happiness to be dependent on something outside of us, and outer circumstances can be out of our control. By putting our happiness in them, we put ourselves in a dangerous place. Live your life to be content rather than chasing after something that in the end will have no value. Close your eyes and imagine your home. Remove all unnecessary items from your home. It frees up space, doesn't it? It even makes you feel a rush of freedom. So, keeping the essential and letting go of the extras that distract you will lead to a simple and peaceful life. As Musashi wrote, there is nothing outside of yourself that can ever enable you to get better, stronger, richer, quicker, or smarter. Everything is within. Everything exists. Seek nothing outside of yourself. Rule number 6. Do not regret what you have done. Regret. Everyone has something in their past that they wish to change. While Musashi disagrees. According to him, living in the past is not becoming a successful or happy individual. Do not let your past define you. Instead, learn from it and become a better version of yourself. The weak never let go of the past. The strong suffer, but they absorb the lesson and reflect upon them to improve their future. A samurai after a defeat is hungrier than ever for a chance at redemption. It is important to understand that failure is a utility. It is the best way to learn. With shame and damage comes wisdom. As Buddha once said, every morning we are born again. What we do today is what matters most. Rule number 7. Never be jealous. Musashi, on his path of walking alone, had nothing comparable to other people, especially when comparing materialistic things or social connections. Sometimes not even a roof on his head, and without the belongingness to anywhere or anyone. Yet with his strong self-discipline and virtues, he did not stray from his path. It's easy to envy couples when you're single, or the rich when you have less. Jealousy is pain caused by desire of wanting things to be different than they are. This only breeds anger, resentment, and unhappiness. The only comparison that should be made is with your own self. Compare yourself with the person you were in the past. Comparing yourself to others is unwise, as every individual thrives in their own personal niche. As quoted by the famous Lao Tzu, when you are content to be simply yourself and don't compare or compete, everyone will respect you. I hope you found the teachings from Dokkōdō helpful. I will be releasing the second part of the series on the next Friday, so subscribe to not miss out. Please like and comment your thoughts on this video. Thank you for watching.